Ladies and gentlemen, it is a wonderful time of the year. The Premier League season begins this weekend. You know what that means? It's time to alienate a fraction of my audience, as today we predict the Premier League season. I wonder which set of fans I'm going to offend this year. But yes, in today's video, we are going to be predicting all 20 teams and how I think the ladder is going to shape up in the Premier League this season. A lot of storylines, a few new clubs that I'm very interested to see how they perform. But I'm just excited for the season. It finally feels like the question, especially with Messi leaving La Liga, that the Premier League is far and away the biggest league in the world once again. So let's get into the prediction. Also, I should clarify, I don't expect to get these 100% right. Don't take it personally if I say something bad about your team. Just roll with the punches and abuse me on Twitter when I get these wrong. Okay, so coming in at 20th position, I've got to do it. I am going with Watford. I think Watford are going to get relegated this season. Personally, I just don't think they've done enough in the transfer market, and I don't think their squad is strong enough from what they started. Obviously, the transfer window is still open, so clubs, any of these clubs, whether it's Watford or Man City or anybody, they're still able to do business, so I might not get these 100% perfect or the storyline might change, but at the moment, Watford just haven't done enough to me. Their squad doesn't inspire me. They went down with a whimper last time, and I think it's going to be it's going to be another relegation for them. They are starting to copy and paste the formula that my club Fulham likes to do, the formula that Norwich, West Brom, all these sorts of clubs love to do, but I don't really have too much to say. Watford just don't inspire me, so I think they're going down. Now in 19th position, I am rolling with a club that I think is going to rattle a few feathers, but I think Southampton are going to get relegated. I think Southampton are in for a very, very tough season. Southampton were deceiving because last year at the start of it, they were absolutely incredible. They were one of the top teams for the first half of the season. But if you look at their record from the turn of 2021, Southampton were abysmal. They were in the relegation battle. And honestly, their squad, the changes they've made to their squad have not been that impressive. They've brought in Adam Armstrong, which is just about the only notable signing, but they've sold Danny Ings to Aston Villa. There's transfer rumours around James Ward-Prowse, so if James Ward-Prowse goes, I think Southampton are a shoo-in to get relegated. But at the moment, I just don't see too many players that can really give them enough of an impact to keep them up in the Premier League this season. To be relying on a striker that has not really proven himself in the Premier League in Adam Armstrong, and Che Adams for that fact, is a little bit of a gamble, though I could be proven wrong. We saw what Ollie Watkins did at Aston Villa last year, but I just don't think Southampton have what it takes to stay up in the Premier League. In 18th position, this is one that I ummed and ahed about quite a lot, but I have to do it, lads. I'm going Brentford. Obviously, there is some initial bias as a Fulham fan and Brentford being our biggest rivals, but I genuinely don't think Brentford is staying up in the Premier League this season. I was umming and ahhing with them in the team that I put in 17th position for quite some time now, but I just don't think Brentford have the team to keep themselves up this season, although they do love that money ball approach, and I'm interested to see whether it works in the Premier League this season. They've got some players that give me more hope for them than the likes of Watford or Southampton, although it makes me a bit of a hypocrite to say this because Ivan Toney, the striker, I said this same thing about Adam Armstrong, and I said it as a negative, but Toney hasn't proven himself in the Premier League, but I think he really is that type of guy that has the ability to, like an Ollie Watkins, ironically, they're both English strikers formerly of Brentford, but I just don't think Brentford have enough to keep themselves up in the Premier League this season. It's their first time in club history, I believe, of being in the Premier League. I just don't think they're going to know what they're doing. I just think overall with the squad, they don't have enough Premier League experience either. There are some players that could be absolute great game breakers and make me look like an idiot at the end of the season, but you look at the side, the only player, there's nobody in there that has some crazy Premier League experience. There's some nice players in there like Mbwamba. You've got Ai, who's come across from Celtic. De Silva's another guy in the midfield who could really make an impact this season, but I just don't think Brentford are going to have enough to stay up in the Premier League. Now in 17th position, this is the other team that I was weighing up. It was either between them or Brentford, and in 17th, I am going with Norwich. Norwich are in that category of teams, like I mentioned before, like Watford, like Fulham, like West Brom, that are just yo-yoing between the divisions. But I think Norwich are going to survive the drop this season. They were insane offensively as well in the championship this season, but they're going to need the defense to step it up a notch if they are to survive in the Premier League this season. Losing Buendia to Aston Villa is a big loss, but they have made some very exciting signings. And when I see these sorts of signings, it can go over either way. I've known this firsthand as a Fulham fan. When we were back in the Premier League, not last season, but 3 seasons before that, we made so many exciting, young, big name sort of pickups. I was like, yeah, we're going to be sweet. And then obviously got relegated with an absolute whimper by March or April. But I look at this Norwich side. They've signed the likes of Zolis, the Greek fella from Pal. They've got Angus Gunn across from Southampton. Him and Tim Krul fighting it out for the final for the goalkeeper spot is going to be surely interesting. They've got some young players in there who have had a lot of experience in the past 2 years, like Max Aaron. They've got Ben Gibson coming across from Burnley, and if you know anything about Burnley, they know how to stop conceding goals. Billy Gilmore on loan from Chelsea. Rashika, I mean, if you've seen the Werder Bremen rebuild on our channel, you know how good Rashika can be. Whether he can carry that over into the Premier League or not is a different question. But they've got him. They've got Josh Sargent, the American. That is a big pickup. Their owners and their recruitment team have definitely been playing career mode. But on paper, this Norwich side is a lot more put together. It's a lot stronger of a side and a lot more rounded of a side than I would say Brentford do. That's why in 17th, I've gone with Norwich. All right, in 16th position, we have gone with Crystal Palace. The Roy Hodgson era is over. The absolute GOAT has retired. And now it is time for the Patrick Vieira issue at Selhurst Park. Personally, I think there are going to be teething issues for Crystal Palace. I think they are a bit of a smoky to get relegated this season. It feels like throughout the transfer window, they've been linked with just about every man and his dog, and they've missed out on essentially everybody. They are going to have to rely so much on the players that they already have in the club. The likes of Wilfried Zaha are going to have to absolutely carry them this season. They did a big thing that I have a little bit of hope with Crystal Palace with is the addition of Joachim Andersen, the former Fulham man himself. I watched him last year. I'm so sad we didn't stay up purely because we lost him and Areola, 2 guys that I think would have come and been backbones of our squad if we stayed in the Premier League. But I think Joachim Andersen is one of the most underrated defenders in the Premier League. So Palace are going to have to rely quite heavily on him, in my personal opinion. Jean-Philippe Mateta and Olise from Reading are both nice additions to the side. A bit of a French addition to the side this season. The Vieira influence, I guess you could say. But I think all of these guys are really going to have to carry Crystal Palace this season. That's why I've gone with Palace in 16th. Teething issues and an okay squad. In 15th position, we've gone with the most 15th team in the world. We are going with Burnley. Burnley they just hang around. They're always there. There's nothing new or original to say with Burnley because they do the same thing every single year. The only issue I see with Burnley is their squad depth. They've got a decent starting 11, but their squad is almost paper thin at this point. They've only made these signings of Collins, the guy from Stoke, the Irish defender from Stoke, and they got who's the guy? Stevens from Brighton. So those are 2 very Burnley Brexit sort of signings, although I know Ireland's not a Brexit country, but you know what I'm talking about. I think Burnley are going to do what Burnley always do. This is probably the most safe opinion I can ever say, but Burnley are boring. But Burnley know how to get the job done. They were in the relegation scrap for a long time last season, and when they beat Fulham, that Chris Wood goal, they just put us to the sword and they ended up being safe quite easily. And I think whilst they will be in the relegation battle for periods this year, I think they're going to have a season very, very similar to last, and I think they're going to stay up just, again, by the skin of their teeth potentially, but I think they're going to stay up. I think it's going to be another Burnley-esque boring season. Coming in at 14th, I have Brighton. Brighton are a team where I didn't know if I should put them in the top 10 or if I should put them in 20th because they are the most up and down side ever. Their big problem though is their lack of ability to score a goal. We all saw the memes, we all saw the things on Twitter and Instagram last year where Brighton fans were just going on and absolutely beating their meat over the XG stats. But Brighton last season could dead set not score a root in a brothel. And I genuinely don't know how this changes this season because they really haven't made any additions to their attack. They've still got Malpay in there, who on his day is an absolute well-beater. Who are they going to rely on though? They're going to have Malpay trying to score the goals. They're going to have Danny Welbeck there. I don't know. I'm genuinely interested to see what Brighton do in terms of their attack this season, but they really haven't made any major additions to the side. For me, it's going to be about clinicality with Brighton this season. That is the big question mark. Their defense was decent for the most part. Now can they score goals? Although the fact they alienated Matty Ryan and now have sold him makes me kind of hope Brighton go down, just quietly. Brighton went from being a team that I was like, yeah, I kind of like Brighton when they had Aaron Moy and Matt Ryan, but now there's no Australians in the squad. It's like, hey, you can go down if you want. But ultimately, I think Brighton won't go down. I think they end the season 14th. Okay, so this probably will ruffle a few feathers, but in 13th, I've gone with West Ham United. West Ham were absolutely phenomenal last season. But the issue for them, like, they're going to suffer from their success. They are in the Europa League this season, so fixture congestion is naturally going to apply. And the big problem with West Ham is their lack of squad depth. Their starting 11 is pretty decent. Like, they've kept most of the players from last year. Jesse Lingard didn't come back on a permanent deal. But they've only really added Areola, the Fulham goalkeeper. So, like, that's not going to help them a crazy amount when it comes to fixture congestion. West Ham need to buy some players. And I think if they make it out of the group stages, especially of the Europa League, they may encounter some domestic problems. Like I said, their midfield is like one of the best midfields in the Premier League, in my humble opinion. I think they have got an absolutely gun midfield, but they're going to have to rely on it so much this season because I look up top, you've got Yarmolenko and Antonio as your real only number 9 options. They're both decent players, but are they going to be able to handle playing on a Wednesday night in Romania and then having to back it up on a Saturday playing in London and trying to do that for weeks upon weeks upon weeks on end? I don't know. I think West Ham are the sort of side where if they make some signings in the back end of this transfer window or in the January transfer window, I would definitely bump them up the table a lot more. But at the moment, I think 13th is a harsh but fair estimation. In 12th position, it is another side that I debated internally with a long time. Like, I was like, oh, are they relegation threatened? But I have gone with Newcastle United. Now, for me, Newcastle United, there is one major storyline that is going to help them have success this season. I think this is going to be the breakout season, like the season that St. Maximin becomes a superstar. He's showed glimpses of brilliance a lot like at Nice and at Newcastle the past few years, but I think St. Maximin is going to take it to a different level this year for Newcastle United. I also predict Callum Wilson to have a phenomenal season at Newcastle United as well. I expect him to really, I think Newcastle's attack are really going to carry them this season, although I say that their defense has the ability to be pretty damn strong. It's just a big question with Newcastle United. They've got so many talented players. Are they going to live up to their true potential? I also want to see Miguel Almiron living up to his potential this season. There's just so many players where I said this about few clubs, but it could go either way. If the players live up to the potential, I think 12th is fair. But there's also a real possibility they all just have an absolute stinker of a season and get relegated. But I'm going to trust my gut like I have with a lot of these suggestions, a lot of these predictions, and put Newcastle 12. Now, in 11th position, I'm going to go with Wolves. Wolves are definitely in a little bit of a transition period. They came onto the Premier League after that crazy kind of run they had in the Championship. They got that money into the club, the Portuguese influence, bringing in Ruben Neves, Moutinho, Patricio, all these sorts of guys. They have kind of held steady for the past year or so. And of course, with Nuno departing the club and going to Spurs subsequently, they do have a new sense of management into the side, keeping that Portuguese theme though. Bruno Lage comes into the side with, and again, like I said, that Portuguese influence, but they've made some changes to the side, both impressively and not so impressively. Losing Patricio is going to be a big deterrent for Wolves, I feel like. Jose Sá, although he's a decent player, I'm very interested to see how he performs in the Premier League, coming across from Olympiacos, the Portuguese shot stopper. They've also made some impressive additions. You've got Trincao coming across on loan from Barcelona. Bruno Jordal coming into the midfield. I'm interested to see how this Wolves side goes. The big thing for me, I want Raul Jimenez. He's coming back from his head injury, gonna have to be wearing the headgear. I want him to have a great season. Hopefully he kicks off where he left off before the injury. He was really starting to find his feet. But as a whole, I think it's going to be a little bit of a transitional year for Wolves. I think they'll be good long term, but I think they need this year to get used to the new game style, to get used to the new signings, and just really enter into a new era. So I think Wolves are going to finish 11th. All right, in at 10th, I'm going to go with Everton. Everton were one of the surprise packages of last season. Of course, they led the Premier League for a long part of the early season, but as we know, there's been a big managerial changeover, just like Wolves. Rafa Benitez coming in and shaking up football in Merseyside, pissing off a lot of Liverpool fans after the departure of Carlo Ancelotti, headed back to Real Madrid. Everton's squad, it intrigues me. I'm sure Everton fans are hoping Pickford can carry his form over from the Euros, but this squad, I don't know, it feels like, I just can't put my finger on it. I don't know what to really make on it. You've got Everton fans are divided from what I've been able to see. People either think they're going to have a great season or an absolute stinker. The defense polarizes a lot of fans. I've heard mixed opinions about players like Godfrey and Yerry Mina, and a lot of people are saying Digne is really the only bright spot of the defense. There's been talks about needing a new right back. Seamus Coleman is potentially a little bit too old right now. But I mean, I look through their transfers for the season. You've got Asmir Begovic. I mean, he'll be a nice understudy, or a nice experienced player to give Pickford a little bit of advice. You've got Damari Gray, who I think is a nice pickup. You've got Andros Townsend, who doesn't really inspire me. I'm very interested to see how James Rodriguez performs as well. He said publicly that he came to Everton because he wanted to play under Carlo Ancelotti again. Is he going to have that same sort of motivation now that Ancelotti is out of the club? Is he going to put it 100% into this Everton campaign? Everton, I don't know, man. The attack, on paper, they've got an absolutely stacked attack. You've got Richarlison, you've got Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who was a breakout player of last season. Alex Iwobi in there. You've got Moise Kean coming back from his loan at PSG. This side should do well, but I just don't know, man. I just don't have that gut feeling about Everton, so I'm going to put them in 9th. So while editing the video, I've realised that I completely forgot to talk about Leeds United, and I'm pretty sure I just said that Everton are going to finish 9th. But Everton are finishing 10th in my opinion. Leeds United are going to go 9th. For me, it's all about avoiding second season syndrome. Bielsa is an absolute footballing tactical genius. And whilst Leeds haven't done the craziest amount of transfers, I think they're going to be a team that avoids second season syndrome. I think they're going to take another step up this season. The squad is absolutely quality. I think a year of getting Premier League football under the belt with the same sort of group of players is going to really help them this year. So I'm going to go Leeds in 9th. In 8th position, we are going to go with a club that has been in the news big time the past week or so, and that is Aston Villa. Jack Grealish is out of the club, but the board have handled it almost perfectly at the moment. Obviously, we'll have a better indication come the end of the season as to how Aston Villa's board managed it, but with the £100 million they got from Jack Grealish, they've gone out and spent it quite wisely before he departed the club. So they've gone and got Leon Bailey from the Bundesliga from Bayer Leverkusen, obviously again playing a bit of career mode. He's been an absolute career mode wonder kid for years. They've got Danny Ings from Southampton, which is a massive pickup, and they've gone and got Buendia from the Championship. So 3 big players there with that Jack Grealish money, who I think could make a massive impact for the Aston Villa season. Emi Martinez, he's coming off a great campaign in Copa America with Argentina. He looks like having another great season. I mean, Villa had a pretty good season last year. I think they should take a step forward. Ashley Young's back in the club after being at Man United and Inter for forever. He's back at the club where he began, left 10 years ago. So there's a bit of a feel-good story building around Villa Park. I also like the ambition of the club. They've come out publicly and said the goal is to qualify for the Europa League, I believe it was in the next 2 years, and then qualify for the Champions League after that. So they've got a clear direction that they're trying to follow, and I hope they follow it. I really hope they do, but I think this is going to be a good year for Aston Villa. I'm going to put them in 8th. This top 7, I've changed so many times, but in 7th, I'm going to go Tottenham. Tottenham interests me. Tottenham are a massive asterisk. that asterisk, what, can I say that? Am I saying that word right? I don't know. Anyways, their big question mark is going to be Harry Kane. Now, at the time of recording, it's still uncertain whether he's going to stay or whether he's going to go to Manchester City. If they can keep him, and if they can sign Lautaro Martinez from Inter Milan, that changes my top 7 a lot. But at the moment, I am operating on the fact that they're going to lose Harry Kane and not sign Martinez because it hasn't happened. I think they're going to go 7. Bit of a suspect defense at times. And I mean, they really rely heavily on Heung-min Son and Harry Kane. We see how much they struggle when Son and Harry Kane are injured. I think they're gonna have to really come out and make some big, like, if they sign Harry Kane, if they sell Harry Kane, I'll be so interested to see where they put that money, because they're gonna need some big changes to the team if they're gonna qualify for European football. Also, the fact that they do have European football again might make them suffer. Not as much as it would make a team like West Ham suffer, but I think the fixture congestion isn't going to be the most welcome thing going. So that's why I'm putting Tottenham, not Leicester, Tottenham in 7th. In 6th position, I'm going with the red side of North London. I think it's going to be Arsenal. Arsenal really, really intrigue me this season. Their squad is a year older. They've got that young group of players like Saka, Martinelli, all these sorts of guys coming through. They've signed Ben White. There's a lot of question marks around Arsenal. I think they could genuinely get themselves back on track this season. It's also a big season for Mikel Arteta. He's had a few years to warm into the job, to warm into full-time management, but I think Mikel Arteta is starting to walk the tightrope. He needs to show that he is a top-tier manager, and I think this season needs to be the one to do it. I think the fact that Arsenal aren't playing European football this season is a big, big addition to them. They can focus solely on the Premier League and the Cups, but mostly the Premier League. I think Arsenal are going to qualify for European football next year, and I could see, like, this is a hot take, and I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I've just got this feeling that Arsenal could be back this year. I feel like Arsenal could push themselves up and push for a top 4 spot. But for today's video, I'm saying Arsenal in 6th. So now we get into the top 5. In 5th position, I'm going with Leicester City. Leicester City are the team that everybody in the Premier League loves, and I really hope they qualify for top 4 this year. I was gutted that they missed out on top 4 football last year, but Leicester are a side that can go genuinely deep in European football this year. So I think that, like a lot of other clubs, could be a deterrent or a hindrance from them making the Champions League, from them getting higher than 5th position. I was feeling really good about the signing of Wesley Fofana, and then he went and bloody got injured in the pre-season, so they're going to be without him for a few months. Boubacar Samara and Patson Daka are 2 big additions to the team. The big thing as well, I feel like Jamie Vardy is the Benjamin Button of English football. He just keeps getting better and better and better, and I don't know when he's going to fall off. Hopefully, for Leicester fans' sake and just for Premier League fans in general, the fall off doesn't begin this season. But I like the fact they have a bit of a succession plan. They've got Iheanacho in there, who's an absolute weapon. We saw him score in the Community Shield the other day. Patson Daka, whilst unproven, has boatloads of potential. So I'm very interested to see what Leicester do in that regard. Their midfield, their midfield is beautiful. Yuri Tielemans, Maddison, these sorts of guys are just, they are just incredible. Wilfred Ndidi, Harry Barnes as well, 2 other quality players. I really hope Leicester push up into the top 4, but to be safe, I'm putting forward my safe predictions and what I think will happen. I think Leicester finish 5th. So again, we're headed into the top 4, and this top 4, I've changed my mind on 400 trillion times. I've changed it in the last half an hour. I've changed it whilst recording the video, and I'm probably going to change it mentally again once the video finishes recording and once I've uploaded it. But this is what I'm going with. In 4th position, I'm going Liverpool. I just don't know, man. Liverpool, they were so unlucky last year. Liverpool was so unlucky with their injuries. Van Dijk out for so long, but now they've continued getting injuries. Robertson, he's been ruled out for the start of the season. Van Dijk's back in the side, but how long can he stay healthy for the whole season? They have upgraded their defense, bringing in Kanate, but I just don't know, man. This top 4 is so tight for me. But I am going to go with Liverpool in 4th. They haven't done enough business for me to be inspired, although their side is still just so gun. Mane, Firmino and Salah back for another year. Alisson in between the sticks, Van Dijk, Thiago hopefully has a better second season than he did in the first. Fabinho's a year older and a year better. I don't know about Liverpool, man. There's just minute differences in this top four that are just affecting my positioning, but I'm going to go with it. Like I said, I might change straight after the video, but right now I'm saying Liverpool 4. Now, in third position, I am going to go, and again, another position where I've switched these two teams around so much, but I'm going to go with Manchester United. If you asked me yesterday, I would have had Manchester United in second. But today, I'm going to say Manchester United in third. They've done some great business. Rafael Varane into the side. They've brought in Jadon Sancho. But for me, I'm just not sold on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer yet. I'm just not sold. Manchester United just have so many big players in the side that I just feel like, especially with the midfield, something is bound to go wrong. They've got Van de Beek in there, who I think needs to step it up this season. Who knows what Paul Pogba we're going to get this year. Who knows if the defense is going to be a lot more sus. Although, the addition of Rafael Varane is going to make, like, their backline, in all honesty, their backline is going to be so damn solid this year. You've got Wan-Bissaka, one of the best defenders in the Premier League, one of the best right-backs in the Premier League. You're going to have Slabhead and Rafael Varane as the two centre-halves, which is going to be brilliant. Roberto Carlos has found a new lease on life, so defensively, I think they actually are going to be quite solid. It's just really going to depend on that midfield. How's Sancho going to develop and join the Premier League? How's he going to adapt to the Premier League? Can Rashford bang in the goals? Can Cavani produce the same efficiency he had last year? There's just so many moving pieces with this United side. And I think they have the ability to challenge City for the title. I think they have the ability to push in top four. But I'm just going to put them third. So two teams remain, Manchester City and Chelsea, the two Champions League finalists from last year. But in second, no surprises, I'm going to go with Chelsea. They are the best defense in Europe at the moment. They have the best defensive record in the second half of the season since Thomas Tuchel joined the side. They've got Lukaku rejoining. Their attack's going to be cooked. You've got Mason Mount, who's taken it up another gear. You've got Pulisic, who's finding some decent form. You've got N'Golo Kante, who's probably going to win a Ballon d'Or. Jorginho had an incredible Euros. This Chelsea side is just absolutely wild. I'm very interested to see what sort of a formation Chelsea line up in next season. Is Lukaku and Werner going to be starting up top together? Is Lukaku going to get the main spot and Werner's going to be shown the boot? Are they going to be rotated? I'm very interested to see what Tuchel does there. The addition of Malang Sarr as well is going to be a nice addition to the defense. And the X Factor, it's the go to Fulham himself, Marcus Bettinelli, joining as their third string goalkeeper. I swear to God, if Bettinelli wins a Premier League, I'm going to be, oh my God, that'll be ridiculous. But yeah, I'm going to go with Chelsea in second, and obviously that leaves one team remaining, Manchester City. Just not fair how good they are. Like, they've got Jack Grealish now for an English record of £100 million for an English player. If they bring in Harry Kane, like dead set, it's going to be over before it even begun. I think everybody's predicting Man City first, and it's for good reason. Ederson's there. Ruben Dias is an absolute gun, won the bloody Premier League Player of the Season last year. You've got Sterling, you've got all these, like, this team is just scary, man. De Bruyne in the midfield, Ilkay Gundogan found a new lease on life last year. There's not too much that needs to be said about Man City because it's already been said, but their squad is absolutely ridiculous. And I think they're going to go back-to-back as Premier League champions. I think they're going to win the Champions League potentially. Like, I think it's going to be between them or PSG. An early look of who's going to win the Champions League, but it's going to be massive. So I've gone with Manchester City to win the 2021-22 Premier League title. But lads, that is going to conclude my Premier League predictions video for the season. Again, I've probably said a lot of things that are going to get me in trouble in 6 months' time, but it is what it is. Let me know your predictions and your thoughts in the comment section down below. But I'll see you for the next one very soon. It has been Jared HD here. I'm out.